It's no blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud. To rep your city, New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for them hard fouls. Diving on the
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host, Slice, and tonight I'm joined by my co-hosts, as always, Coke and Jim, as well as our executive producer, Moon. Hey, man, the Knicks picked up a big win tonight, 101-92 against the Atlanta Hawks, tied the first-round matchup at 1 apiece. You know, the first quarter was all Atlanta as they entered the quarter up by 7, 27-20, as well as the second quarter as well. You know, Atlanta just went up. Julius Randle didn't get his first points until late in the second quarter. Atlanta got up to a 13-point lead going into the half, 57-44. You know, the bench mob kind of held it together for the Knicks. Derrick Rose was the leading scorer with 14, while Trae Young, you know, we all know the chance he got going on early, and they did pick up in this game as well, led Atlanta with 20 points. You know, Tibbs finally used his brain and did what all Knicks fans were hoping for in the start of the third quarter, and Alfred Payton was benched, and Derrick Rose came in and started as the Knicks took a 13-point deficit going into the quarter to a 1-point advantage going into the fourth, up 76-75. You know, the Knicks then used a combined run of the third and the fourth quarter of 30-8 as they went up 10 late in the fourth and ended up going up to the 9-point win, you know, to tie the series. You know, try to take back the home court advantage that Atlanta kind of stole from us. You know, Derrick was the best player on the court by far for the Knicks, as he ended up with, I think, 26 points it was. You know, Randle had a poor first half, kind of what he did have all last game, but he came alive in the second half and hit some big shots. And while RJ Barrett didn't show out all that much, he was able to make some momentum-taking shots, the same thing he did in the first game. But this time, the Knicks played some tight defense to kind of take it away and, you know, pick up this win to tie the series. You know, it was a big win for the Knicks, guys. Let's not get it twisted, right? The bench really held it down for us. I think they were the key to this game. And, you know, important thing to remember is we got to go at Atlanta, and we got to make sure we get one back so we can take back this home court advantage that Atlanta stole from us. Coach, kicks off with your thoughts for this game.
What a game, man. Like, that's all I could say. What a game, man. You know, these first two games, you know, in the playoffs in 8 years, first of all, I just got to give major props to the fans because everyone's showing up and showing out. You know, the atmosphere is just like nothing anyone has ever seen before. I know I haven't seen it, you know, in the past, 20 some odd years. Even when the Knicks was in the playoffs those other years, it was like you expected them to be there. So a first round matchup didn't generate the kind of buzz and excitement that it's generating now. So shout out to the fans. Now back to the game. You know, ugly game, but this is the way we gotta win. You know, this is our identity all season long. You know, play these teams tough, you know, get it physical. I like that hard foul that we saw Bullock put on. I can't remember who he put it on, but he put it on someone. I think it was the third quarter. And this is what we have to do. I kept saying when Trae was just running around.
It was Hunter.
Yeah, it was Hunter. That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, all game, Trae was just running around, doing whatever he wanted. And I was telling my son, like, look, somebody's got to put a hard foul on a dude. And, you know, when that happened, I was like, all right, at least they're trying to make a statement. So, you know, back to the game, Julius Randle, again, terrible shooting night. But what I like is he kept pushing through. He didn't play scared. You know, I was calling him out last game because I thought he was showing a little fear, playing a little tentative. But he really turned it on in the third quarter and in the fourth. The numbers were ugly, but the heart was there, so I respect it. And then we got to talk about Reggie Bullock. You know, the cat redeemed himself, came through, hit 4 big threes tonight when he was shut out last game. So, you know, it was good to see an appearance from him. And like they said on the telecast, when Reggie Bullock scores double figures and when we get Julius Randle, you know, playing like the Randle that we think he can be, we win games. And, you know, that's what happened tonight. But lastly, you know, before I go down the rest of the list, I got to give props to Derrick Rose, man. I mean, can't say enough about this guy. He's really like arguably one of the most top 2 important people on the team. I mean, dude drops 26. You know, if it wasn't for him in the first half, we probably get blown out because he kept us in the game, you know, while we were trying to tread water, just staying alive while they were going on their runs. He kept us in it, man. And the dude played how many minutes tonight? Let me see. 38 minutes, man. Team high. A guy with the mileage he has on his knees and all the medical situations and surgeries. And he's gutting it out, giving us everything he has, putting his career on the line. Gotta respect the dude like that. And if nothing else, man, he's earned his place, as a New York Knick, in my eyes, out of point guards, because we haven't had good point guards in a while anyway. And he showed that he deserved to be here. He wanted to be here, and he's playing like it too. He's backing up the words with his play. So major shout out to Derrick Rose, man. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Jim.
All right, first thing I want to do.
That's a soda.
Man, refreshing. Because that first half, my butt cheeks were clenched the whole time. It just didn't. It did not look good. It was not a fun, and it wasn't entertaining. But all of a sudden, it was like 2011, and Derrick Rose kind of like threw the team on his back. But also, my favorite thing that I kind of whined about the entire time last podcast, Tom Thibodeau made adjustments at halftime, and he put out Derrick Rose, and he put out Taj Gibson, the best center on our team, and we made a run. And you know what? Nate McMillan outcoached Tibbs last time. And you know what happened? He did not stagger Bogey and Trey, and we made a run, and they just couldn't handle that run. That was kind of the most surprising thing, is that Nate McMillan made all the right calls in the first game, and he did not do that today. And that was the big difference. We were able to punch them, and they weren't able to take it. And that's how we won this game. I mean, thank God for Derrick Rose. RJ was the only one that kind of showed up for the first 3 quarters that gave him any sort of a running mate, and then Tibbs kind of pulled him after that, which is fine. I'm not going to complain too much about it. And then Randall finally woke up. That was the Julius Randle that we needed to see. He got to that 15 feet away from the basket position, and he was able to make quick decisions. And if they came and doubled, he was able to find the open guy. They finally stopped cheating over on that guy in the corner. He was able to kick out to Bullock for a bunch of big 3-pointers. And, that looked like the Knicks team that we've been watching all year. Game 1 wasn't the case. Tonight, it looked like we've been watching all year. Moo, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think this was a game of corners, of turning corners. One is with Randall. I think he was still a little bit iffy in the fourth, but he had a pretty solid third, and I think maybe we're finally seeing him getting over. I don't want to call it stage fright, but it's kind of, I think, the pressure of playing at the Garden with the noise and the expectations and the MVP and all that stuff. It looks like he's turned a corner. So I think it'll actually be good for him to get on the road. Maybe he'll feel a little more loose or relaxed and do a little bit better. The other corner, like Jim said, is it looks like we may be seeing the end of Alfred. I would be very interested in seeing what the next starting lineup is for Game 3. I would not be surprised at this point if Peyton is not starting. It was amazing that Peyton did not come out into the third. I think for whatever reason, Tibbs may have finally realized, look, we don't have the type of offense. We can't keep falling behind teams like this. So that's a huge plus. I want to give props to Taj Gibson. I think he was actually almost as critical for this game's success, for this win, as Rose. He did things on the, it doesn't show up in the stats, but he was boxing out and keeping Capella from grabbing boards, which then in turn allowed the Knicks to grab some boards. And those were big momentum changing, offensive boards, second shot attempts. That I think is something that's understated.
Can I add something to your point right now, Mo?
Yep.
I know Kyle doesn't like single game plus minus, but Taj Gibson was plus 23.
Right.
I mean, that's so substantial that you can't be dismiss that. You can't throw it out. But go back to what you were saying.
His common stats, right? His points, his rebounds weren't that great. But that just, that says what his impact was when he was on the court. He was huffing and puffing. I mean, 35 years old or whatever, however old he is, and playing all those minutes. I mean, he didn't give up. He played. There's no rest. There's no rest the rest of the way until the playoffs is over. Or whenever that is. So I think these guys, both Rose and Taj, they played like guys that have been in the playoffs, been in the crunch time. They were smart players. The rest of the Knicks, there was a lot of ups and downs, and hopefully this big win kind of propels them, and we'll look for better. Maybe they could run a streak to win the next two games, and they really put a chokehold on the Hawks. But yeah, definitely was a really good game. I had my wife with me. She normally doesn't watch games. She was screaming at the TV, at the Knicks and at the Hawks. So yeah, it was a really good showing. Do you guys know what were they calling Trey? What the hell? Where were they screaming at him?
Trey is balding.
Oh, that's what it was.
Trey is balding.
That's the worst part about going to the bar, because I watched the game at the bar with my friends, and I even said this to them. It was like, I can't hear the Garden.
I was like, what the heck? Yeah.
It really takes away. It really takes away from the atmosphere of like the game, because like you kind of like, especially when the Garden's going crazy, so you kind of feel like you're there even in your living room. But at the bar, I'm like, listening to Modest Mouse while like drinking a beer. That's like totally not the same thing.
Yep. So yeah, definitely slice.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is one thing. Like I said, I was at game one. I wish I was at game two instead of game one, right? Because you can hear it through the crowd. You can hear it through the crowd. The crowd was a little bit louder this game. My wife was watching the game at home, and game one when I was there, she was watching with me tonight, and she kind of said the same thing. Like, this crowd is loud tonight.
Yeah.
She's like, I was watching it last game. This crowd was loud, and that's the best thing about NYC. Maybe it did get to rain a little bit, the pressure and things like that. But to me, that's why it's solid having these veterans off our bench. And to me, that's a slice out the box. 55-22, our bench outscored their bench this game. And, the big thing with Atlanta was everybody says they're a very deep team. They're a very deep squad. And they are. The same thing, a couple of fans who were knowledgeable around me said game one. Atlanta does have a big bench squad. But Derrick Rose coming out tonight, 26. Alec Burks dropped 27 last game. And, more than 50% of our points came from our bench in a series where, we can't get Julius Randle playing the same MIP, MVP caliber, all-star caliber game he's been playing. Like I said, RJ Barrett, he's had a solid game. He had some shots, but they need to catch him when he's got the mouse in the house. There's a lot of times game one, maybe not as much game two, where he had the smaller defender on him, and I wish they went him into the paint more. But to me, just, the bench stepped up. Taj Gibson, again, just the intangibles that he brings was big. And IQ only had one assist, but it was a big assist, which helped change the momentum with his fellow rookie, Obi. Obi, again, he doesn't do much, but he doesn't look lost out there. And, it just hypes the Knicks fans up more when our rookies are really making those big plays. And again, to me, those are kind of the small things that the bench does that we're not getting from our supporting players. And like Coke said, it was just big for Reggie Bullock to finally step up tonight because we needed him after what happened in game one.
Did you guys know that Obi actually leads the team in net rating for the playoffs?
I was gonna go disagree with Slice just because I was like, Obi's minutes were great tonight. This is like, again, like every like as it gets later into the season, his minutes get better and better and better, even if they're like only a minimal amount of minutes. His 8 points tonight were huge, absolutely huge.
Best thing about the 8 points is like, I'm all about the optics, man, and he's looking confident. He looks the part. He looks like a number one pick. The dude is out there, catching those lobs and throwing it down, hit a three, getting to the
shots.
Blocking shots, making free throws, 3 for 4. That's what I look at, because a lot of dudes that are shook in a playoff environment, they start missing their free throws. You know what I'm saying? He's knocking them down with confidence. He just looks like a player now. So it was good that, he went through his kinks early in the season, and he's stepping up when it counts the most. And, to me, that's a testimony of his character and his heart, as a real New Yorker. Speaking of real New Yorkers, I do want to go back.
I'm sorry. Did you see the video of his mom crying? Because the was chanting his name? Wow. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's good to show out when your folks are there, man. And, they're from New York. So, it feels extra for them being from Brooklyn and everything and going through everything they went through just to get Obi, into the league after his pops' story. So, shout out to the whole Toppin family. But, I got to go back to the crowd, man. I can't keep talking about these New York fans. Well, first of all, this is not a corporate crowd. This is not, the corporate giveaway tickets where you got a bunch of transplants who graduated college and they're entertaining clients at the game. No, these are real New Yorkers. These are dudes who bleed orange and blue. That's why the chants are so passionate. That's why it's so loud. That's why it's a hostile environment, and we've been missing that, man. For so long it's been all about the money. Giving these corporate sponsorships away, getting these suits and ties, into the good seats down low. You can tell it's a different caliber of crowd. And I know Trey, he said he wanted all the smoke. He was talking all the smack. But at the end of the day, if he keeps asking for it, he's gonna keep getting it, and eventually it's gonna wear on him. He might be psyching himself out of the game in the long run.
So, like, hang on. Was I the only one that found it hilarious when the crowd was, like, chanting, I think it was they were chanting fuck Trey Young, towards, like, where there was, like, a minute left, they were down 9, and he kind of, like, looked at the crowd and was, like, kind of laughed and was like, oh, yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
And he locked it for Hunter, and he missed the layup.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you start playing too much to the crowd, it can take you out your game, man.
Yeah. He's damn good. It's very frustrating too, though. I feel like we shot more free throws than they did tonight, but like he just gets ticky tack fouls. It just drives me insane that like when Bullock, there was a play where Bullock clearly stripped him and they called a foul. And you know what? Like that could have been a momentum changing play because he's what? 5'11" realistically, it's BS. I just hate it because it's like there's so many times that we get mugged in the paint, and then you kind of like just breathe on him, and the next thing you know, it's a foul on him.
Well, the thing is this, man, and I've been saying this for a long time. It's the evolution of the game, right? It's almost like the harder you play, the more harder you drive to the hole, the less you get the calls. These dudes who just, they sell, they pace themselves, they rely on change of pace. Those are the dudes who get all the calls. Harden, Trey, Doncic. Those are not guys who like make a quick move and go hard to the rim. So I don't know what it is, but it's like the league punishes you for going hard and they reward you, for the theatrics that draw the fouls, man.
Yep.
Well, at least with like Harden like runs into people, and so like at least I like kind of like understand that. Trey like gets bumped or he flails his arm in the air, like
he knows what a point guard does, right? Everybody liked what IQ did, right? When IQ was doing it early on, right? We were all happy. Hey, he's playing a vet style, but yeah, it is pretty ugly to watch, and I agree with you guys, especially last game, right? What was Trey Young? 9 for 9 for free throws in the first quarter. Or fourth quarter, I mean. And if you looked at how the game flow went last game, right? Game 1 was a very quick game if you look at it from a timing perspective and a flow perspective, because a lot of fouls weren't called early on. And I think Tibbs called it out in his post-game presser. First 3 quarters were called pretty evenly or pretty consistently by the refs. I think, honestly, I think 4 and 6 were the free throw totals going into the fourth quarter, first game. And fourth quarter of the game kind of slowed down. I feel like this game they were a little bit more consistent. Yeah, the play style is very frustrating to me. Just going at it. I love Derrick Rose's response to it. Hey, we're with it. Talk your shit. Knicks fans talk their shit, and he showed out. He hit the layup. He hit the runner. But yeah, it is going to be frustrating to watch because this is not going to be the end. Jim, you referenced a Bullock play, that R.J. Barrett, fan and foul call that they called on game, in game 4 and game 1 in the fourth quarter. Was a momentum shifting play, but still. With Julius Randle playing as poor as he has been playing, and to only lose game 1 by 2 points, and to come back down 15 in the second half this game, win it by almost double digits, win it by 9. I think, Knicks fans should be positive this game, going into Atlanta, going into games 3 and 4 this weekend. I think what we're failing to recognize, and, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel I get like this too, but a lot of Knicks fans are, overlooking the fact that we're the 4th seed. We overachieved already. Now the Knicks fans are going to judge the Knicks by, all right, when the playoffs, don't get embarrassed. If we lost these games, I was never going to go on the real GM board, for a minute, because I can only imagine I can only imagine the negativity on there. You know what I mean? And kind of right.
I didn't look at the post game. I didn't look at the post game game one. There was 50 fucking pages. I was just like, oh man. I was like, I'm not gonna click into any of this.
I think a lot of them would have agreed with Coke's scrub of the night then.
Look, man,
Kyle,
I've been saying
it already, man. Kyle's trying to start it already.
I'm just here to create content,
Habitual button pusher.
This is content. We need content, guys.
Look,
I
man,
mean, we can start it right now. I'll let Coke get his point out. Though.
I was just gonna say,
Go, Coke. Go.
We've been saying all year on this podcast, like no matter what happens in the playoffs, we playing with house money. At the end of the day, I can never get out of character and get butthurt and start talking crazy because no one expected us to be here. So although we all said, the hope is we play the Hawks and get to the second round, even if we lose the series, like the season is still a success. I'm gonna stand by that all day, every day. We've already showed enough. You know what I'm saying? But the rest is gravy. That's all I wanted to say, though.
I feel a lot better though after winning this game. Like if we got swept, I would have felt miserable. You know what I mean? Like this winning this game, like takes a lot of like pressure off the shoulders of the team. Like if this is like ends up being a gentleman's sweep, like I'm not gonna be like too miserable or too upset about it. Like you said, we're playing with house money, but like it feels really good to get this win because it's been 7-8 years since we've gotten a win.
No, it definitely feels good, man.
So the thing that I noticed as I'm playing around with the stats on NBA.com, who was really killing us in the first half was Bogdanovich, and he ended up going 0 for 7 from 3. The Hawks as a team went 3 for 19. We went 10 for 21, shot 47.6%. I don't think we really did anything differently, but they just started missing shots. That was huge. That's the one thing that's fun about basketball is that like you can start off as hot as you can possibly be, but if you cool off at the wrong time, that changes everything. And that's kind of like they went to sleep and went cold, and Bullock got hot. And that's pretty much the difference. You know what I mean? Like that's what's so fun. That's what's so fun about basketball.
I mean, it goes into, people say that the Hawks have more talent, and on paper I think they do. But still, when it comes to playoffs and fourth quarters, you need your stars, right? And the Hawks have only one, right? Bottom line is Bogdanovich looks great, but he usually looks great in streaks, right? He's hot and cold. They have one star. We have one star, right? So they don't have an innate advantage over the Knicks. That is a positive, definitely a plus for this team, right? If we were talking about a team with 2 stars, 3 stars, it could get pretty messy. But whenever Trae Young's not in, the Knicks have a great shot. I think their team, the Knicks overall, without Young out there, they're just a better matchup. I was wondering why McMillan kept Young out for so long. That was my.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you there. I was really surprised.
Right? He was the one guy that the Knicks couldn't stop. He was just going off, and then you sit him for that long. Why?
Yeah, because I was sitting there watching the game and I was just like, "Where's Trae? Where's Trae? Where's Trae?" And I don't remember who hit the shot, but it was probably about like 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game, and that's when McMillan called a timeout. I was like, "Oh, here's where Trae's coming in," but like the momentum had totally shifted already. I was again like there was something that I mentioned before the podcast was that like I was like, "Why sit Bogey and Capella and Trae all at the same time?" Like that was like a serious coaching mistake, which he didn't make game one. That like game one that didn't happen. He coached circles around Tibbs, and he couldn't handle what the adjustments were, which is a good sign for us.
Yeah, I'm happy he did, man.
Tibbs only needed to make one adjustment. Right?
Yeah.
Tibbs made the one adjustment he needed to make.
That was
Alfred.
That's literally.
Alfred.
No.
And honestly,
more Taj is the adjustment that he really needed to make.
Yeah.
Taj needs to play 48 minutes. He's so good. He's so good. It wrinkles my brain that he's like 35, 36, and he's our best center by far.
That's what usually happens, man. And a lot of times the players will tell you that as they get older in age and they start losing some of the physical abilities, they're smarter at playing the game. So, they know how to position themselves, even though they're not as quick or can't jump as high. They just know all the spots to be, and the best thing about Taj, he played 30 minutes tonight, but dude fought every single one of those 30 minutes. He's bringing it to Capella. He's not just conceding the strength area. Even if Capella's bigger, he's putting up a great fight. He's boxing out. He's getting into his lower base, getting up under Capella. That's what you got to do when you're rebounding and trying to box out a tall guy. Get underneath him and push. And I see Taj doing that. He's rooting him like a tree. So shout out to Taj, man. He just knows the game.
He was doing it on both ends. Right, he was basically pinning Capella down so that he's not going out there challenge shots and giving Rose a chance to go into drive into the basket.
Yeah, and most importantly, he can catch the ball on offense. So he's like a little bit. Yeah. He's like a little bit of a threat. He's not like a big threat, but just he could like rotate like that one big play that like Randall drove and like Taj shifted himself underneath the hoop and Randall found Taj for that dunk. Was a massive play, you know what I mean? And Noel doesn't make that play. Taj Gibson can make that play.
Noel has like feet attached to his wrists, man.
It's flippers. I'm sure it's flippers.
Yeah. But I don't think we can give Taj enough credit, right? And what really needs to be said with a lot of these players right now is they're all playing above where they were slotted to play in the beginning of the season, right? There was that little bit of hype. My buddy Alan texted me, he's like, "Oh, Mitch is coming back." I'm like, "He's not coming back, but he might be getting there, right?" But we're forgetting. Nerlens Noel was supposed to be our backup. He's our starter. Taj Gibson was supposed to be a third emergency center. Now he's our clutch playing backup. And I think that kind of worked out better for us because in the playoffs, Cope, you kind of alluded to it. The game slows down a little bit. It becomes more of a half-court game. It becomes more of a game about smarts. And Taj Gibson, like you guys said, he was never really, the most athletic guy out there, but he was always a smart player, always played with hustle. And now he's even smarter and he tries harder. So to me, I think that's what kind of, helps him out with us. And he makes those key plays. And I think he's really been huge where, Noel from our 5 spot might make those big blocks and those momentum shifting blocks, in the regular season. But Taj makes those momentum shifting hustle plays, which the crowd or fans might not see more, but I feel like the team relates to, picks up their energy more once they see some of those plays.
Who else was making some hustle plays and kind of fighting down low? And it's going to sound crazy, but I saw it. Quickly was like really boxing out well tonight. He kept getting matched up on bigger guys. He was boxing out his ass off, man. So shout out to Quickly, man. I see you.
I saw that. What was about 3. What was that? That he had like one against I think John Collins or something where he forced like 24-second violation just because Collins couldn't get position on him.
Yeah, he was fighting.
I don't even remember that.
He was fighting, man.
Quick wasn't great tonight. There was one moment that he UFO'd a three that would have been like, it was huge. Yeah. I'm sure we all remember it. He wasn't great tonight, but you know what? Like tonight was probably the first night that Obi was actually better than Quick. But the one thing I like about Quick, he's definitely been like spunky, and he like definitely is aggressive on defense, which is like things that like he wasn't on the basketball card when he was coming into the NBA. But like again, just like everybody brought it. They played really hard, even though we were god awful in the first half. And you know what? We kept it close enough and a puncher's chance. And you know what? Randall finally showed up. Let me bring up his second half stats. He was 5 of 10. 2 of 5 from 3 for 13 points, plus 20, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Again, that's just more of the Randall that we've been seeing for the most of the year. And like, if that light bulb finally switched on, we're going to the second round. If that's the case,
let's hope the butterflies are going, man. That's the main thing with Randall.
To attack the paint more, right? Yeah, I just want him to attack the paint. I think he's relying too much on the jumper, and he hit some big threes. But his baseline jumper's not there. His little mid-range gimme, the free throw line jumper's not there. I want to be more aggressive because he's killed John Collins all series, or all season, and that's a matchup he could take.
Well, I think it's I think you're seeing Nate McMillan make the adjustment. That's like you notice that like Capella, every time that Randall gets to the ball, like 17, 18 feet away from the hoop, he's like kind of just like cheating off of whoever he's on. And all of a sudden, when you bring in Taj is like a little bit of a threat on offense. With Noel is like zero threat. And all of a sudden, that now you see Randall go off. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's the adjustments that's being made by Tibbs.
Yeah, I mean, you see that. You see that same thing when Trey and Capella are on, right? That's why the Knicks keep giving Trey that room, because they're worried about the alley-oop to Capella. So it's really the same type of thing, where if Noel is out there, I mean, you could leave him alone, right? Because half the time he can't catch a pass anyway. So even if they throw it to him, he's going to fumble it.
Yeah.
And then it helps, especially with a guy like Capella. I mean, he's a tree, right? He's aggressive, he's physical, he blocks shots, he rebounds. When you have him as that second guy defending, and the Hawks, they throw whatever they can at Randall. It's really hard for a guy like Randall to be able to do anything. Beyond the nervousness of whatever else is going on. So yeah, I mean, I definitely this is but you see in the game, like I mentioned before, you see Taj actually in this game try to bother Capella for no other reason than to give his teammates some room to operate near the paint. Right? He's basically boxing. You don't see that too often, where you're boxing out the opposing center when your team has the ball. That in that kind of way, where all you're doing is try to keep Capella from moving towards the guy with the ball.
And again, to your point.
Yep.
To your point, that's got to be an adjustment coming from Tibbs, because if a guy's a lob factor, you neutralize the lob by keeping a body on him. The only way a dude can get a lob on you if you lose him. You know what I'm saying? So if you keep a body on him, you cannot jump up for a lob with somebody attached to you. So I think that's what Taj is doing. I'm sure that's the game plan, to neutralize those lobs coming off the pick and roll. And Taj, that's why he played more minutes. I don't think it's the ankle thing, because Noel wasn't really hobbling out there. I think they just recognized that Taj is better equipped to keep a body and be physical with Capella than Noel is.
100%. I think Taj. I mean, I think Noel is like a little hobbled. I definitely noticed it, but like Taj is just better. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Taj is just a better player.
He's a safer player, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
safer, smarter less flashy, but yeah, definitely right. The more consistent. I think folks, casual fans see all the blocks, right, for Noel, and they're saying, "Oh, he's a great center." But you have to actually look at the little things, the things that Taj does that Noel doesn't.
Noel does weak side blocks, and Taj can guard pick and roll way better than anybody else on the team.
Let me talk about Randall's struggles for a minute. Beyond just him having a little tentativeness and playoff jitters. The main thing with Atlanta now, how they're playing them different this time than other times in the regular season, they got a lot of length. So Gallo is not a great defender, but the dude is long. He's 6'10".
Yep.
Then you got Hunter. He's 6'8", but he's crazy wingspan. You know what I'm saying? Then he's
got a 7-foot wingspan, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
John Collins, Randall, we made him his bitch, all year. But the thing is, they're rotating all these forwards, and every time someone has the ball on the strong side, specifically Randall, they have another guy cheating over. So they're not giving them that driving lane. And what we're seeing tonight, Randall's not athletic. He's not a great finisher with a head full of steam, with a defender in front of him. Right. He can do that in the open court, but not in the half court. Right. So that's why he was struggling to finish a lot, even when he tried to bowl his way to the paint. So I think teams are going to take note of that, and they're going to, keep trying this. They're going to wall up on him like Giannis. That's basically the same principles defensively that they're using to neutralize him.
Yeah, I think we're also seeing the Capella effect. Like he's actually like a very good defender as well. So like he's given like us, everyone outside of Rose has been kind of struggling to finish, and I think that is the Capella effect. So it's like we always seem to make sort of runs, at least in these first two games, when he's on the bench. Like it also is coincidentally when Trey's on the bench. So, but like I think we're like underrating about how good of a rim protector he is.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. He's definitely one of the best in the league. I think that's a good point, and that's where Randall is struggling because his jumper's not falling, so he kind of has to go to the paint more, just looking a little bit bad. But and I think that's where kind of Quick kind of shine. I think he had 10 points in the first game because he was able to do his little floater and kind of back away from the paint a little bit. But Derrick Rose, man, that's like to me like what he's doing right now, and I love that he said he's not vintage D Rose. This is just speed. Before he was athleticism, he was getting up in the air. This is just pure speed and smarts and being the veteran player, kind of playing smart like Taj does. But I know I shouldn't go back from Julius to D Rose, but I feel like I think Julius is getting there. I think he's going to learn a little bit more, see what teams are doing. He did get a little bit better in the fourth quarter there, and I think his jumper is going to come back to him. So if he can recognize the double team coming a little bit quicker, move the ball a little bit faster, and the Knicks play that ball movement, I think that'll be huge, going into Atlanta for these games that we have coming up, man, because, we let Atlanta get one. We need, it's not, we have to, it's a need. I think game 3, the Knicks need that game to get that home court advantage back.
Honestly, you're super right about bringing up Rose again. I feel like we haven't talked about him that much. Like it was kind of like something that we touched on at the beginning, but I mean, like I said, he was the best player for us on the floor. Like this felt like 2011. He was able to hit crazy floaters. He was hitting 3-point shots that like I there was 1 3 he hit in the third quarter. I was just like, oh no, don't take that shot. And it was because it was like a line drive, but it like went right in. Absolutely elite stuff for somebody that we traded for a second-round pick and Dennis Smith Jr.
Most people didn't even want him, man. They were crying about the trade. That's the funny thing.
Yeah. People were really upset about it. Because again, like that might have been just like the tanking mentality that they were just like, don't improve the team at all.
It wasn't even a tank. People were saying he's gonna make us worse. That they were saying the opposite. They said this guy's gonna take minutes away from quickly. He can't finish at the rim. He's washed up. Blah blah blah. Half these fans, they just talk just to talk, man. Rose has always he's always been a baller.
I feel like that shot's a sham. But I'm not.
No, I mean, I never understood that because Rose, he's not the MVP Rose, but he's been damn good, right? Since he left the Knicks, honestly. In talks for 6th man of the year, he's always been that, right? You don't forget how to play basketball, right? He was MVP not just because he was explosive, he could play. So now the explosiveness is not there, or you only get like spurts of it. He still knows how to play. Right, so you can't take that away from a guy, and he's older. He's not run down. So yeah, I mean, I never quite got that. I think it's just the battered fan syndrome, where fans are worried about everything. If you do something, it's the wrong move. If you don't do it, it's the wrong move. So yeah, I mean, this is a learning lesson for some fans.
No, I still don't think some fans are going to learn because you got a lot of fans that are still complaining. You know what I mean?
Oh yes,
but like you said, D Rose, he's what, like a 15-5 player after he left the Knicks, kind of 15-5 this season. Kyle, I'm not sure if you can confirm that for me right now, but I feel like that's around where he was at. But yeah, a lot of fans did kind of feel negatively about it because Melo, we had some Dennis Smith Jr. fans who thought he could still be reclamated.
Some implies more than one.
What is he doing in Detroit? Because
realistically, even his last.
I don't know what's worse, man. I don't know what's worse, Smith Jr. fans or Frank fans.
What's worse is Frank haters. What's worse is Frank haters.
Hey, Slice, you want a fun fact? Slice, you want a fun fact?
It can't be qualified as hateful.
Yes, Kyle. Let's get a fun fact from you.
Frank has
before I got to address something.
Frank has the worst net rating on the team at -100 for the playoffs.
For what? All season?
For the playoffs.
It can't be. Knicks have Peyton.
In the
playoffs, Peyton is second worst at -29.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's going to be judged off 2 minutes of
Half a
2
minute.
plays trying to defend
Yes.
one of the better point guards in the league. So, Coach,
Yes.
my connection got a little bit off last game. Hold up, my connection got a little bit off.
I'm ready.
Train back, and I wasn't able to address it then. But
See, what Slice means by that, hang on. What Slice means by that is he ran away. Because he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I ran away.
He ran from the smoke, right?
You heard the NJ Transit, and Coke didn't even say this when I was still on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I was way off before he said this. But you're trying to tell me in a game where Julius Randle played like utter shit and had the shakes, had the yips. Reggie Bullock couldn't do the one thing that we need him to do. In a game the Knicks lost by 2 points, you're trying to put most of the blame on the guy who's in there for 2 possessions trying to guard one of the better point guards in the league?
Nah, that's not accurate because I spent the whole pod killing Randall and killing Bullock. I was talking about Randall to death, but I had to save the Alfred Award to Frank because you talked about Bullock needing to do one thing. Frank had to do one thing. That guy had one job, and he was terrible at it in those couple of seconds. At the end of the day, can't score at the rate that an NBA guard should be able to score or create. He's in the league for one reason. That's to play defense. We're talking about, he's coming in cold and, he was only out there for a couple of seconds. The reason that he's only out there for a couple of seconds because you can't trust the guy to play in the rotation. So, that's the role he's in. And if that's the role he's in and he can't excel at that, he's going to find his way out of the league at some point, if he can't stop these guards.
So let me support.
But how
Coke.
are you going to dress somebody off 2 seconds?
Hey, Slice. Let me support Coke in one way.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, here let me do it, and then you can have your rebuttal. So here's my Coke. Here's my Coke support. Oh yeah, definitely. But here's my Coke support. If Frank got picked off, or had to run around a screen or something like that, I would be on your side, being that's ridiculous to blame Frank. Capella said a great screen, this, that, and the other thing. Trey just did an in and out dribble. That was it. And he Frank was wandering around lost like my dog looking for the ball after I throw it in and it's dark out.
Where did he go?
Yeah,
I will defend. Hang on, I will give the absolute mildest defense of Frank here because it was a terrible defensive play to go for this. What he was doing was he was really overselling Garden at 3. He thought Trey was going to go for 3 and win it, but even still, that was terrible defense on that.
He did go up to
it was really bad defense. Normally, and I'm a Frank hater, so don't get me wrong. I'm not the one you're expecting to defend Frank, but yeah, that was a whiff. That was as bad of a whiff defensively as you can get.
All right, Coke, you got
Now's your time.
Jim as your supporter. You got drunk Jim as your supporter. I got some of our fans as my supporters here in the chat, man.
Here we go.
No.
Hold on.
MD Harris. MD Harris is up, baby.
It's not even MP. We got Vishal, we got Baki in here. We got
That's Wingo.
Andy.
Tell me what they say.
Oh, Wingo,
Wingo. I can't see it.
They're just saying.
Wingo. We know Wingo, man.
You got to get some burn. You can't come in cold. Somebody's saying you have a ball, man. But Frank blew one play, right? He got blown past in the fourth quarter. Hold on, let me get my thought off.
Go finish it.
Let me get my thought off. You can't come in fucking cold and be expected to guard one of the better point guards. It's not like he got blown past by a scrub. And to me, he got blown past. This is not me giving Frank a passing, if he did this, he got blown past. But you got to, you can't sit here and try to dismiss the fact that you're coming in cold in a playoff game, expecting to make a stop against one of the better point guards in the league that can blow by many great defenders off the dribble.
Hang on. I have to ask a question. Quick. Hang on, Slice. I just have to ask a question real quick. So, as someone who has never actually played basketball, I mean, you guys can see me. The audience can't. Just look at me. As someone who's never played basketball,
I think the audience they've seen you before, though, right?
Yeah. So let me ask this. I thought being cold only applied to offense. Like, how are you cold on defense? Like, how does that work? This is a serious question, by the way. I thought that like defense was just like something you do, right? Like you don't need to get into the rhythm.
It's a sarcastic question, but it's a very serious.
I'm serious. I mean, like is it like I understand like when you're shooting, like you go through like hot and cold streaks, you need to get in rhythm. But like when it's defense, is like, come on, you know what to do.
Kyle. His hammies were a little tight. That's why he couldn't rotate.
Tell him to ride that treadmill on the sideline.
You use your body to shoot. You use your body to shoot. Your knees got to be in it. Your body's got to be in it. Your knees and your body got to be fucking warm to defend. A great play, like you guys are talking about, like Frank came in and couldn't guard somebody like Emmanuel Quick or what's the fucking scrub that was on our team? Emmanuel, whoever. Not
that was some shots.
Moutier?
Those some shots like quickly.
You know I'm thinking.
What, Moutier?
Moutier, thank you.
Moutier.
Yeah, Moutier. You're trying to say you're talking like Frank let somebody like Emmanuel Moutier beat him. You know, as
Moutier's better than Frank too.
Let me address your stance real quick. Let me address your stance real quick because I don't want to.
Yeah. Coco.
Let me address the stance before we get off topic. All right, so the basis of your argument is Frank is cold. He's coming in for like, one defensive stop at the end of the game at a moment's notice, correct?
Against an elite player off the dribble, yes.
All right, elite player, that's cool. All right, so if he shouldn't be doing that, and the only other thing he should be doing is not playing at all. So are you advocating for a DNP?
He shouldn't have played.
Because
he shouldn't have played.
I can respect that then. So you agree Frank does not need to be in the rotation at all. We agree on that.
Unless wait. Unless this replace Alfred.
I got you in the corner, my
dude. No, you don't.
Coach should be a lawyer. He just verbally boxed you in.
No. Are you gonna let me talk? You're gonna let me talk?
Okay. I got you.
I would like to see you get your way out of this.
No, Frank in that situation should not have played. You as a coach, Thibodeau's like, you know what? I'm gonna bring this guy in cold because he's a situational stopper. You want Frank to get some of those minutes that Elfrid Payton got early on, to give Derrick Rose a rest. Frank Ntilikina should be in at that point. He's on the court a little bit. He's seen some of the moves that, Trae Young did. Because it's not like a simple crossover, Jim, like you kind of said, just beat him off one move. He did a nice little left, right, I believe it was, if I remember right, and got him off a little step, you know what I mean? And he did beat him.
Well, Slice. If the problem is seeing Trae Young do stuff, like you can watch him from
seeing
the bench.
Him all game from the bench.
I agree. I honestly,
I guess we got different. But let move.
Let's move it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll side with Slice. And I'm not just
the sober.
And this is from I've never really been a fan of Frank, right? I've kind of been consistent on that, but I will say that I do kind of agree with Slice that it's not fair to. I know that's his role, but I don't think it's fair for him to be thrown in at that, with however many seconds left, to do what he did. Did he mess up? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
So my thought process is that it's okay that he got beat. I don't think that's the end of the world. And I actually do empathize with your position on that. He hasn't played all game. He's played only 30 seconds and he might need be a little bit warm to move around the court. But he got smoked. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he just got beat.
Jim, hang on, Jim, that's why they call him Frankie Smokes, baby.
He legit got turned around. He was his back was.
I mean, at that point, you got Derrick Rose, you got Emmanuel Quickly, and you got Elfrid Payton, who were getting beat like that all game until Alec Burks.
That's true.
Why don't you guys talk about that?
That's true.
These guys couldn't guard the simplest play in the game of basketball.
Isn't the point? Hang on.
Hold on. And this is where this is where I need to get my point across.
This is all for me.
If you guys are gonna blame somebody off one play, against all of our players who play good but can't guard the simplest play in basketball. I was there live. I've never seen the paint bigger, wider, more open than game one than I saw the whole game. So if you're going to blame Frank on one play on getting beat, these boys played absolutely zero defense on a pick and roll, straight up. I saw Trey beating every single point guard on that court.
That's true.
So these guys were on there getting smacked all game. That's the only thing I'm saying. I just found it
they're
funny
not
how,
built.
you know,
They're not built as stoppers, though. We're always
if you
told.
think Frank Ntilikina, hold on. Here's my thing, right? I give any fan who says Frank Ntilikina is a defensive stopper and he's going to stop the best players in the league, you're a fucking idiot. But also, if you know what I mean.
Just lost everybody in the chat.
Hear that, MP? Hear that, MP Harris?
Slice is about to get exiled from Frank Island.
No, I'm a big Frank fan, but nobody's sitting here saying Frank Ntilikina is going to come in and be a defensive stopper and come in on one play and stop somebody like Trae Young. Not even Matisse Thybulle. If he's coming in cold on one play, I expect him to get beat as well. And he's a bigger, better defender than Frank is. I'm going to say that as a Frank fan. You got to be smart. We're Knicks fans. We're smart.
Yeah.
We're not dumb, right? We're supposed to be educated.
I mean, Slice.
Hold on. So my only thing with you was, this is the only game where Julius Randle was justified to be scrubbed. Reggie Bullock was justified to be scrubbed. Those two guys cost the Knicks a game more. And I feel like your scrub award is usually pretty accurate. You know, sometimes we got fun and jokes. In the first game of the playoffs, I just thought you were going to be a little bit more accurate on a representation of who cost the Knicks the game.
So I feel like
hold on. The scrub of the night, it really isn't about who cost the Knicks the game. No, it's about who is like, you know,
who's the worst
ultimate, who's the ultimate failure, who's the dude who, you know, basically I did not want to see out there again if I had a choice. And it had to be Frank. As bad as Julius Randle played, you know, every shot that goes up, you know, you hope he's going to turn it around. He built up so much equity. At the end of the day, what has Frank done? He hasn't done anything, and he has a cult following. So, you know, when the cult talks him up as this guy, you know, at the end of the day, sick Frank on Trey. I heard that all week long before the series started. He's gonna shut Trey. He's gonna shut Trey down. Oh, he didn't. He didn't.
I mean,
so
that's
hang
a
on.
big part.
I think we got a good point in the chat. We got a good point in the chat here from Andy.
Let's go to the chat.
So we got a good point here from Andy. Who says the ultimate failure was Alfred, which, you know, that's why we call it the Alfred Payton Award. You know, it's kind of in the name. You don't have to name Alfred. Yeah, exactly. That's why we named it that term. But also, I got to go back to something you said earlier, Andy, who said that must not have an athletic bone in my body. That is true. So if you haven't seen what I look like, just imagine like a 5'11" Nikola Jokic, but like half the vertical.
A quarter of the vertical.
Okay, hang on.
Like
I get half.
1/8 the vertical.
I can get over a phone book, okay?
Oh man!
All right. I think.
Colt.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you get it off.
No, I mean, to be fair, right? And I said this before in on the board. Frank has probably consistently been the Knicks' best defensive guard, but that's not really saying necessarily all that much because the Knicks traditionally have had awful defensive guards, right? So I think fans need to. I've said this for 4 years. I think this is his fourth year, right? You have to temper, you know, everything, right? Frank is a solid defender. We've talked about it. He's probably better at defending wings than quick guards, right? So that might also factor into, you know, was that the smartest move? Probably not, because with Trae Young, you're not talking about a wing. You're talking about a super quick, sneaky little point guard. But I mean, I think that's where the you know, him being the best. I mean, I could be the best one, you know, if I'm playing a game and Kyle's the only other guy on the court. But that doesn't really say that.
Okay, hold on. Right? You're absolutely correct, but hold on.
Right, and that's kind of what it is. Frank is I think he's a solid defender, solid wing defender, but he doesn't really do necessarily anything all that well from an NBA standpoint. So I don't think it was fair to bring him in that situation. I mean, yes, he did blow it, but I don't think it's as big of a miscue. Because by that point, you kind of had the sense that Trey was going to do something, and it wouldn't matter who was guarding him, right? At that point, that was the way he was playing. So yeah, I'm kind of I'll side with Slice, on this whole thing. So Slice, I got you. I don't know. It doesn't mean that much, but
no, it does. At least I got I got the sober one.
Yeah.
Coke, you still there?
Oh, we lost
I
your
know we lost
video.
Coke's video.
Yep.
We lost Coke's video. I
Oh,
think we
man.
might have lost audio as well. But no, I was trying to move.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can get him back quick. I was trying to move on because we talked about Scrub of the Night too much for the first game, and he didn't even play this game, so there was really no point to bring him up. And
Sure,
Perfect Scrub of the Night.
I'll go with Scrub of the Night, just as
There
a
you go,
replacement. As a replacement.
Frank Ntilikina.
I'm going to go with Bogdan Bogdanovic, and not because he was a killer in the first half, but he ended up going in the second half 2 of 11. He went 0 of 7 from 3, and a minus 12 for 4 points. So that's who I'm going to go with Scrub of the Night, because he really let the Hawks down. He was just not good in the second half. He took a bunch of shots that I thought he would normally make, but he missed them. And that's the big difference in the game.
So talking about the Alfred Payton Award of the Night, we got a question from Yikman Tan. What is the chance of Payton starting Game 3? Personally, I think it's over 50%, but what do you guys think?
I'd say 50-50. Before tonight's game, it would have been 100%. Right? But I think the fact that Rose started the third quarter, it's 50-50 right now. I think Tibbs will think about it, and he might pull the trigger, right? Cut the cord finally.
So this is what I said. How Payton would lose his starting job is that we would get blown out in the first half, and then he would make the adjustment in the second half. And this is literally what happened. So I am at a 25% chance that Payton is going to start on Friday.
0% chance. I think Tibbs finally learned his lesson. Saw that what the Knicks needed. We turned a 13-point deficit going into halftime to a 1-point lead going into the fourth. If Tibbs really does start health in Game 3, I think he should have his Coach of the Year finalist recognition taken away, because to me it's just obvious. Coke, I was going to kick it over to you before you lost
power. My bad.
Difficulties.
Yeah, my bad.
Jim gave his Scrub of the Night, so I'm curious to see if you're going to agree with him, because I didn't.
Who did Jim give? Matter of fact.
Quick, so go
first, and then I'll tell you what I did.
Yeah. But Coke, before you call your Scrub of the Night, Scrub of the Night, there was a question Kyle brought in from the chat that was asked. What's the percentage you think that Alfred Payton starts game 3?
Shit, if it was up to me, 0. But being that it's Tibbs, I say 25%.
Well, that's what I said.
I think the odds are he won't, but there's still a small chance that maybe he plays it off like, oh, I pulled him, in the second half because he didn't have it to open the third. But this guy's got it. He's got us here all year. Blah 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 blah. He might come with that kind of spiel, but I don't think it's likely that he will start. So I'm only going to say a 25% chance.
0. Jim said 25. I think Moo's at 100. I don't think he starts at all next game. But yeah,
I hope
talked
so.
too much about Game 1 Scrub of the Night. Yeah, we talked too much about Game 1 Scrub of the Night. We'll see if we give the same amount of attention to Game 2 Scrub of the Night. But yeah, who you got tonight, Coach?
All right, so let's see if Jim was as accurate as me. I'm going with John Collins, man.
That's a good one.
That was the obvious one.
6 points,
That's right.
2 for 10. 2 for 9 from 3. Julius Randle just owns the guy. This is a dude who's looking for a max contract, but he can't even stay on the floor against in the playoffs against an elite power forward like Julius Randle. So he was the easy call for me. And runner up, I had, who was my runner up? Hello Gallinari. 6 points. Sorry, I had my stats twisted. Collins dropped a donut. He was 0 points. Gallinari's the one who has 6 points, 2 for 10 from the field, and the 6 points with 2 threes, 2 for 9 from three. And he had a ton of open looks from three. He was missing a ton of shots. There was some back-breaking moments where if he would have hit,
He
the
kept the
game could
Knicks
have got
in it.
away from us. Yeah, he was bricking them. So,
Yep.
ex Nick Gallo, he's my runner-up, but I got to give it to John Collins because he dropped a donut, man. He's asking for so much money. And by the way, Gallo's making $20.5 million a year too. So, between those two guys, they laid a bunch of eggs from the power forward spot.
So I went with Bogey because he was awful in the second half.
Bogey?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was my thought process. I felt like him letting off the gas pedal ended up allowing us to win. So that's why I went with Bogey.
Well, I just wanted to win to him because it was really hot first half. Never get.
Yeah, he was dominant first half. But that was my rationale. I went with him because he was great. He was great the first half, and he was awful the second half. And I felt like that's why he lost. They lost.
I think John Collins was awful all game. So to me,
that was a better pick.
He was brutal.
That was a better pick. Definitely.
It was 0 points and like 5 fouls, right?
He's costing himself so much money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a much better pick than my pick.
And you know why I loved him playing so bad tonight? So my seats in game one were right by the Knicks bench, and that's where John Collins was giving his interview. And he was actually trying to talk smack back to the fans. So I know MSG got on him. And he was really trying to talk to the Knicks like he was, like he's Trae Young. So I think a lot of fans tonight, because there was a lot of fans that were coming back, were all over the guy. And he was utterly, completely useless. And Coke, like you said, he's playing himself out of a contract.
Yep.
He's not going to be a max contract kind of guy, and he's not going to be the big guy on there. But before we get into the next game thoughts, got a couple of questions in the chat there. Jim, you got a response from Andy to your thing. He says he rather wish we had Bogdanovich on our team instead of you calling him scrub of the night because he kind of kept Atlanta in it early on and chipped into the lead with them. And then
first half doesn't matter. First half doesn't matter.
Can't say that. Can't say that for us in game one, though. That's what killed us.
Yep.
Who was it when my man Coach Matt was on here? Matt Collier, he said, you can't win the game in the first, but you can surely lose it.
Lose it in the first. That's true. And then if Elf doesn't play, if he doesn't start there, Andy wants to know. He says, he still thinks Rose is off the bench is lethal with Peyton not playing. Do you guys think Quick then should be the starter?
No.
Or, I have another guy in mind, Alex Burks.
No.
Do you think that should be it, right?
Either Burks or Rose.
I gotta pat myself on the back because I birthed that Alex Burke, sentiment of being a starter. That was like a month ago. Mm-hmm. I remember I threw that out there to Slice and he got stuck for him and he was like, Burke starting? I was like, nah, I want to see what happens when he comes back because blah, 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 blah. And here we are. I think it should be Burks, man, but the dude has size. I think although he doesn't have the feet to stay with Trae, if you're starting on the wings with a big point guard in Burks and then you got RJ and then you got Bullock, none of those guys could stop Trae, individually. But, if you wall up kind of like what they're doing to Randall and you send the help and you funnel them where you want them to go, it'll be all right. And then on offense, we saw it tonight. Burks was trying to post up Trae and he was like running away from the post up. So Burks would just go to the fall away jumper and he hit it. I think he did that twice. So it creates a matchup problem on both sides. I would start Burks in a heartbeat. Plus, the dude got balls. He never gets sped up. He never gets slowed down. He just knows how to play.
I think they even had Bullock on Trae late, right? And I think that actually helped slow Trae down, the Bullock's lane. So maybe do that, and then you have Burks cover, whomever.
Yep.
I feel like it definitely helped that whoever the big was at those times that they ended up coming up and trapping. So I felt like that disrupted him more than just being like, we're afraid of Capella lob.
Yeah, I like the traps out there, to Moo's point, Bullock coming out there with using his length, but I don't know. I like Burks. I like what he's doing off the bench. He's been a, big scorer, like you said, Coke. He has the balls to do it. He's attacking. I still like Rose because I feel like he's still a better distributor to get Randall and RJ in their spots and the ball where they need it. But am I going to be mad if Burks starts? No. I
As long
just
as
think
Alfred doesn't.
what Burks does, and as long as Alfred doesn't, right. But I just think what Burks does is better suited off the bench, where we need more of a creator and somebody who can get the ball, get the ball in the basket off the dribble. Where Rose is a little bit better with our starters, but I think it's
I
a good.
love the
I think
idea
it's a
of
good
Rose,
situation.
right? Love the idea of Rose, but the only like fear that I have is Tibbs is going to end up playing 38
The
minutes if he
minutes,
starts
yeah,
him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If he brings him off the bench, it forces him to manage the minutes because he's not out there for the first 6 minutes of the game and the first 4 or 5 minutes of the third quarter. So that forces him to keep those minutes down. Tibbs is a maniac, man. If he starts,
does it though? Have you watched these last
43
2
minutes,
games?
that's all right. You can play a little longer. Yeah, I definitely agree with Coke. I think having Burks out there, he can. I mean, Burks, you rarely see him sweat. He's always moving that kind of same silky pace. I think you could probably play him a lot longer and get if you need to than Rose, and then.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
We just lost Moo there.
Yeah. So
So hang on. So Coke, Derrick Rose has played more minutes than anybody on the team in the last 2 games. What are you talking about? Tibbs is going to manage his minutes off the bench.
Well, because I think it's because we were losing. He gets desperate, but if we start him, he's gonna go ham. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Rose tops 40. If he's coming off the bench and he's doing 38 tonight, and what did he do the first game? I think it was like 35, 34, something like that.
Well, he's averaging 38.2, so.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's been the best player in the past 2 games, so it's not really super surprising that he's played the most minutes.
Look, since Moo is down, let me throw this out there because it kind of hit me just like out of the blue. You know who Burks reminds me of? And you got to be a throwback fan to know what I'm talking about. This dude reminds me of Derek Harper now that I think about it, like a bigger Harper. He has that game where he doesn't get sped up. He has that low dribble. He can shoot that line drive 3. Then he can drive it at the same time, hit that little pull-up jumper. So I have no qualms about him running point because he's like a 2-inch, 2-3 inch bigger Derek Harper the more that I think about it. Not athletic, but just knows how to get to his spots. I like that comp.
You talk about prime Mavs Derek Harper or
Knicks
Derek Harper?
Knicks finals Derek Harper.
Knicks finals Derek Harper.
Prime Harper was a star, man. That was a superstar. Not superstar.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was an all-star.
That's why I wanted to confirm. But Derek Harper was a really good defender. Burks ain't on that level defensively.
Offensively.
And offensive comp, I can see it. The only thing that I kind of don't see is Derek Harper wasn't able to really break his man off the dribble on the Knicks anymore. To me, he wasn't really able to create the separation, as much separation. I do like the comp because of what we've seen down low, and Burks has surprised me, and what Derek Harper was able to do, kind of pick his spots a little bit down low. It's not a bad comp. It's an interesting comp. It's actually something new, so I need to sit on that, but it's an interesting comp, actually. If we get Moo back, I'd like to hear Moo's take on that.
Yeah, Moo was there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Moo would definitely be able to give more insight than I would be able to, because I was like 9 when Derek Harper was on the team.
I was like 2.
Moo back?
No,
He's not back. He's not back.
Yeah, he's not back.
Hey, y'all want to push it somewhere else until he comes back? Any more comments in the chat? I'd like to hear some smoke, man. Fans, come at me, man. Like, tell me something that we could go in on until my man Moo comes back on.
Andy says that Burks is like Marty Collins.
No.
Yo, a way more talented. I don't even call him Marty Collins. Someone misspelled it one time and it always stuck with me. They said Nardy Collins. he's a way more talented Nardy Collins. I can see the body type. That's it.
Yeah,
though, in all seriousness.
Nardy Collins was a better Frank Williams. You know what I mean? Those
right?
Point guards that we had for no reason.
Frank had a hot little 2 weeks or something. No, 1 week or something. Dudes were starting to believe in him.
Like a game, like 2-3 games. But yeah, he was the other piece. Was it Marty? It was Frank, right? Who was the other piece of that McDice trade? When they
He was like the 30th pick. I feel like
he
Frank
was one
Williams.
of the last picks in the draft there.
Should we talk a little bit at all about us winning the coin flips in the draft? Because Moo, are you back? Are you back now?
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, man. No draft talk. Don't jinx it.
Yeah. All right. No.
I don't want to lead to early.
talk,
I don't want to lead to early summer.
Yeah.
Nah, we'll have enough time to talk about the draft. You guys know how I feel about that. I was always looking forward to the playoffs, but yeah, it was some good news. You know, we didn't even talk about it much. Julius Randle won Most Improved Player. You know, it was announced after game one, so that was a huge accomplishment. You know, big ups to see a Nick player getting recognized in an award like that, and it was dope for his son to kind of give him the trophy, which I'm sure a lot of us saw. And you know, shout out to D Rose and Coach Thibodeau. You know, like we kind of alluded to before, not winning the awards, but being a part of the top 3 finalists. You know, I'm kind of curious to see what Julius gets in terms of MVP voting, because he kind of ran away, I think.
Have they done Coach of the Year yet?
Before we get to the MVP thing, I gotta bring the smoke to Kyle, man, because he thinks. Don't think our listeners forgot, Kyle. You said on the air Julius Randle would not win MIP because he didn't have a big enough scoring jump. What do you got to say about this award, man?
Yeah, I said what? No, yeah, I said I didn't think they were going to give it to him because of that. But if you go back and listen, I said he is the most improved player. I just didn't think that they would recognize that based off of they always use points per game. That's what I thought they were going to vote for. So that was the prediction of voting, not deservedness.
Even though you were proved wrong when he had the bigger jump than Brandon Ingram last year.
Oh, he did. Nice.
He pulled up.
Yeah.
I think he had a bigger points jump than Brandon Ingram did last year and stuff, and he definitely had a bigger assist jump. You know, percentage, rebounds was about the same, but points.
The biggest jump was that 3-point percentage, man. That was crazy. 27 to 41.
Doubled his assists as well, which is a big deal.
Yeah, 3 to 6.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Well,
but you know, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was going to say. Speaking of that, that's like been the most interesting thing that Nate McMillan has done defensively against Randle is that he's been like kind of like crapping in a way that Randle isn't being able to find people in the corner 3, and then tonight he was able to make those assists. So it's like if Randle can beat his defensive scheme, like I feel like we're going to win more games. That's all.
Yeah, he had 4 assists, in both games, so 8 assists combined, 3 turnovers the first game, 4 turnovers this game, so 8 to 7, better than what he was doing in the regular season. I feel like.
Yeah.
But let's get it going, right? We got Friday night in Atlanta. Unfortunately, I won't be able to join you guys on the pod that night. I got a important personal thing going on, but I'll definitely be watching the game, having it on in the background. Since I won't be able to chop it up with you guys, Coke, I'll start with you first, man. What are you looking forward to the most in that game? If it's something different, what do you think is our biggest key to picking up that all important 2-1 lead in the series?
Biggest key to that game and for the whole series, I'm gonna go ahead and say it: 3-point shooting. When we're hitting our shots, we win games. When we're struggling from the field and we can't hit our threes and we're struggling to score, and we have those like ugly first halves or ugly opening quarters and we get down into a hole, that's when we tend to lose games we're supposed to win. So 2 elements that I'm looking at is Elfrid going to start. If he doesn't start, that means we're going to have somebody who's more capable of stretching the floor and keeping keeping defenders honest so they can't cheat off. So whether that's Burks, whether that's IQ or Rose, each of those 3 have proven that they can hit the 3 ball and they're a threat to drive as well. So as long as we're switching out Elfrid for one of those guards, and as long as we're hitting our threes, I'm going to go ahead and say we got a great chance of winning that game and the series.
I'm going to go with, can Randle give us 48 minutes? I feel like that's probably the most important thing. Obviously,
48 minutes the whole game?
Well, I mean, I guess what I mean is, can he give us 2 solid halves of basketball, not necessarily like being out there 48 minutes, because he hasn't really shown up. Yeah, I after a whole season of Tibbs, I expect my guys to be able to give us whole games. But no, seriously, he didn't really show up last game at all. He wasn't here with us in the first half, but all of a sudden he lit it up in the second half of this game. Next thing you know, we took the lead. So it's really important. Can he give us 2 solid halves of basketball? That's what I'm expecting and need to see, because otherwise we're going to be lost without him.
Yeah, to me, it's the first quarter. We got outscored 24-16 in the first quarter, the first game, 27-20 this game. The Knicks just can't get out to a bad start. And, part of it comes down to Coke, which you said, about poor shooting in the first quarter. And then, Jim, part of it plays to your point. Julius Randle's gone up to poor starts. But I think it comes down to the bigger question: does Elf start? I'm thinking he doesn't. I'm hoping it goes to Rose, but we'll see who it goes to. But my thing is the Knicks need to get off to a big first quarter start because it's good with the fan base coming in and MSG. The fans are supporting the team, behind the team. Able to give them some energy to pick it up later in the games. But when you're on the road, even though Atlanta has been a heavy New York fan, the Knicks fans always show out where we're at. Shout out to Knicks fans watching worldwide. But in Atlanta, the Knicks fans show out. But whenever you're on the road in the playoffs, it tightens up a little bit. Knicks fans get drowned out by the noise in the arena. The home team fans. So to me, the Knicks have to come out to a big start. Otherwise, trying to climb uphill in the playoffs on a road is a lot tougher. Than it would be the first 2 games. But valid points all around. It really does come down to a 3-point shooting and how Julius Randle can do. Can he show out for a full half or full 2 halves instead of coming alive in the fourth quarter like he did tonight? Unfortunately, doesn't look like we're gonna get moved back. Still dealing with some technical
Can you guys hear me?
So, Coke,
There he is.
There
we
he is.
got audio,
Right
bro.
on cue.
We got some audio.
We got some audio.
Right on cue. So I don't know if you heard the question, man, but give us your key advantage or your key matchup or the key thing to look for the next game for the Knicks.
It's the 3-point shooting. All the way around. Bullock, Burks, even Randall. I think either Randall or RJ is going to have to really hit a streak from 3. I expect Randall to play better. I think this was a turn. I think when he's going to be in Atlanta, he'll play better. So I think it'll come down to whether they can hit their shots. They can't create, right? Between Capella and just the kind of talent they have, they're not really great creators off the dribble. So they need to hit threes. That's how they win games, right? Defense and threes, and Randall doing his thing. So if they can get 2 of those things, I think they have a good chance. 3, they'll definitely win.
Yeah, no, for sure. But let's start to wrap it up here, fellas. Coke, I'll kick it off to you, man. What's your final thoughts for tonight?
You guys are breaking up. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, because I'm struggling to hear you guys. What was it? What did you say, Slice?
Yeah, final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Okay. Final thoughts, man. I'm gonna just speak to Tibbs directly as if he's watching. Do the right thing, man. We've stuck with the squad all year long. The fans have done their part. The players have done their part. They've sacrificed. No one's complained about their roles this season, but at some point, in playoffs, we can't give away minutes. We can't give away points to the other team. We can't handicap ourselves. You got to do the right thing as the coach now. Sit Elfrid down. You don't owe him anything. You've given this guy more than enough chances. Sit him down. Put in Burks. That's my favorite, or even IQ or Rose. Doesn't matter. Any one of the 3. And let's start games off on even footing with the other team rather than playing in a handicap. I think as long as we do that, if we make that change, we increase our chances of winning the series tenfold. So let's hope that Elfrid finds a nice seat on the pine and he can just watch the game and be supportive of his teammates.
I guess I'll go next, and we need Derrick Rose to keep doing what he's doing. I feel like we're going to go as far as he's going to take us, because he's clearly. I mean, I don't want to bring this up now, but maybe I will anyway. But maybe he's more important to this team than Randall because he kind of brought us all the way to this game today. Maybe that's something we could discuss at a later date, so we don't extend this podcast too much longer. But yeah, we clearly need him to be good to win.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We talked about Randall being the MVP of the team, but Rose really a close second. I mean, they wouldn't be where they are without him, and they'd be 0-2 badly, right? Not just 0-2, but really bad 0-2 if Rose wasn't here. He's the guy that stabilizes everything. I mean, it's weird because Randall's the star, but Rose is really the stabilizer. He's the backbone of the team, right? And you can't really say enough about what he's doing, what he's meant. So yeah, I mean, definitely. I think this team will play up. I think they will, you know, make the adjustments. They've got the jitters out, right? So I expect them to pick it up once they hit Atlanta.
So before I get into my final thoughts, real quick, I forgot because normally it's a different team, but I didn't get predictions. I know we all want the Knicks to win, but Coke, we'll do a round robin. Coke, then Jim, then Moo. Do the Knicks win Game 3 and go up 2-1? Yes or no?
Yeah, we taking it, man. We're gonna get that home court advantage back. I think we got the monkey off our back tonight. We got that first win in 8 years. They're gonna feel more confident. And like you were saying before, ATL is like a home of a lot of transplanted New Yorkers. So there's a sizable Knicks, pro Knicks crowd. So I think they'll be comfortable. They won't feel as much jitters and the pressure of playing at home. So I absolutely think they're gonna get that first win in Atlanta and reclaim home court advantage.
I'm changing my original prediction of 6 games. We're going gentleman sweep. Knicks, gentleman sweep. We're winning the next 3. We caught fire and we're ready to go. So yeah, we're winning the next game.
I'll play it safe. I'll say they'll win the next game. I don't know about a sweep. I think Nate McMillan's is good enough that he won't let his team get swept from this point out. But definitely, I'm predicting a win next game.
So you guys know what sucks?
Yeah.
Is that even if we beat the Hawks, we wouldn't be able to face the Nets until the conference finals. And I really want to see that because it's not often you get to see a team play another team in the playoffs and get 7 home games.
Nice. Little jab at the Brooklyn fans, man.
Man, I'm sure they're listening to us because they got nothing better to do and nothing to listen to because the Net fan doesn't really do anything, that old man who runs Net Daily. But how sad is it they have to run a promo for James Harden to beg them to get tickets? Meanwhile, the Knicks are talking about selling out 15K real quick.
20 minutes,
it was
man.
Just
crazy. It was kind of funny.
Man. Just
that's because they
can have one of the most stacked teams.
That's because they have 10, diehard Net fans, and the other ones are just, coat riders and
They just got nothing better to do in the city in Brooklyn, and they can go to a game at Barclays real quick and check it off their New York bucket list.
They just look like the colors, man. That black and silver.
It is nice colors.
Nice colors. They went safe and smart, I guess. You know what I mean?
They do have nicer jerseys than us, but
yeah. They got a better little color palette than the Knicks do. But the Knicks got the classic orange and blue. You can never take it away. Just those all ugly orange jerseys were a little bit weak for us when we had those.
Oh my God, those are terrible.
Yeah, and plus we lost every game we played with them, didn't we?
Yep.
But I agree with you guys. I think the Knicks do pick up Game 3. The momentum's going our way. Moo, I do agree. A little bit too early. I know I called a five game series that the Knicks will pull out, but I think it's going to go a little bit deeper than that, just because they are deep. The Knicks gave up a lot of open threes tonight, and we were lucky that Atlanta missed them. Kind of the same in Game 1. They did miss a lot of threes that the Knicks, by scheme or by design. Coke, I know you brought it up a lot. The Knicks let up a lot of wing threes. This series, we've let up a lot of corner threes, which I feel like kind of hurt us lately. So, I think that's another key to look at for this series as it shifts over to Atlanta. But I think we pick up the all-important Game 3 victory, and keep this series going. But, hey, we got the big rebound win tonight. Tie up the series 1-1 versus the Atlanta Hawks. Derrick Rose again. Julius Randle MVP of the season for the Knicks. Derrick Rose so far is the MVP of the playoffs. We'll see how the rest of the game goes, the rest of the series goes, I should say. But hey, we played huge. Tibbs made a good rotation change. Let's hope it stays up, and that's the last we've seen of Elfrid Payton this playoff and postseason run. We thank everybody for joining us tonight for the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. Hit up that thumbs up button if you like what you heard, as well as subscribing to make sure you catch all of our latest videos when they come out. We'll catch everybody on Friday night right after Game 3, and we out.
I see forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock clout. Till we run